Well, good morning, everybody. It is November 5th, Election Day. I'm wearing my Brondo shirt. It's the Thirst Mutilator. It has electrolytes. And if you've ever seen the Idiocracy movie, you will appreciate the shirt more than ever. Since it's Election Day, and we do have our fair share of idiots in the United States, I figured the shirt would be appropriate. But anyway, have you done your civic duty? I voted in late September. And it seems like more often, especially this year, the choice was between a slow moving dumpster fire or a slow burning dumpster fire and a highly explosive train wreck. Which way we're going to go, it's not going to be pleasant either way. People are going to wake up tomorrow assuming we know the winner tonight. And half the country's going to be pissed off and upset, walk around with their head in their hands like, oh no, woe is me. Well, so be it. We've survived plenty of other crises before. I just, being the father of a 3 week old grandson, I feel like I have skin in the game. I want him to grow up in a nation that's safer, more prosperous, and more free. And right now, I don't see that happening with either candidate. I think one is probably has some worse things on the agenda than the other. But nevertheless, if you're going to vote, don't do it on personality. Seriously, do it on issues. Um, do you want peace and prosperity, or do you want war and devastation? Do you want a country that is still a country, or do you want a country that is just, you know, a piece of dirt and citizenship is eroded so that we're just territorial residents? Something to think about. I'm not going to change anybody's mind. Just think, if that's what you want, then that's what you want. My wife and I, our votes just cancel each other out. So, but we live in a blue state anyway. My prediction off the cuff, just based on what I've seen, is that um, I believe that Donald Trump is going to win the electoral vote by a small amount, and he's going to lose the popular vote by a small amount. So you're going to have people whining about the electoral college. But I think that the U.S. Senate is going to remain very closely divided, probably 51 to 49 or 52 to 48. And I think it's still going to be it's going to still probably be in Democrat hands. I think the Republicans might pick up a few seats in the House and still have a small majority. Um, the main thing, if Trump doesn't win Pennsylvania, he's going to have to win probably four of the seven swing states. If he doesn't win Pennsylvania, he's going to have a tough time of it. If he does win Pennsylvania, I believe that'll put him over the top. My state, Virginia, it's listed as being in play. I still think Virginia is going to go blue, and Tim Kaine, unfortunately, is probably going to get a third term. Hung Cao is the Republican challenger running against him, but um, I just don't see him gaining much traction. I could be wrong. I don't know. Um, I don't think he was the best candidate in the Republican field, but anybody's better than Tim Kaine in that regard. My U.S. House district, I live in Virginia first. He's a milk toast, go along, get along Republican with a left wing Democrat challenger. So it's hard to say what'll happen, but we're really we closed on our house last week. We're waiting on our furniture to come, and I'm now going to be in a different congressional district. I voted in my old district, but we're going to now be in the Virginia 5th district. So um, I believe it's a Republican uh, representing that district. So I believe it's Bob Good, but I think he's stepping down. I think he's retiring, or maybe he lost a primary. Um, there's a guy named McGuire who's a former Navy SEAL. I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe he is going to be the 5th U.S. House District representative in Virginia if the Democrat doesn't beat him. Not sure who the Democrat in the fifth district is, but like I said, I voted in my old district, and we still own a house there, so that's still our legal address for now. So I don't know. I just hope we don't see riots. I know in D.C. that they went up and put plywood up and everything else, expecting riots. It's pretty sad. And you get the D.C. police chief out there saying, well, we're not going to tolerate crime and disorder. We're not going to tolerate lawlessness. Well, why do you wait until the election to do that? You shouldn't tolerate that any time of the year. Bonehead. Jeez. I'll tell you, it's no wonder people around the world laugh at the United States. And I'm glad to be back. I lived in Europe for the last couple of years over in Germany. It was great. But people around the world sometimes wonder what we Americans are thinking. But then again, I wonder that sometimes too. You get people who just come up with stuff that, they say things that are totally impossible. But then when you ask them to delve into the details, they can't give you an answer. Well, we're going to balance the budget by taxing the rich. Oh, really? How many rich people do you think we have? Um, we're gonna solve the labor shortage by having an open border. It's like, that's not really going to work too well either. Then you get other people who say, well, we're just going to deport everybody who's here illegally. Well, you don't have to be Albert Einstein to figure out that's not logistically possible. Um, that's just not going to work. You need to secure the border first. Um, it doesn't do any good to deport people here who are illegal aliens if you don't have the border secured. It's like if you have a bathtub and your bathtub is overflowing, okay? What's the first thing you do? You have to shut off the water. You don't start bailing water out of the tub. You shut off the water, then you pull the drain plug. Then you start bailing out water. And then you try and get a mop to clean it up until you shut off the water. You're pissing in the wind. But anyway, I voted. I voted in late September. Virginia allows early in-person voting. I had no issues at all. Um, I I know some states don't require an ID to vote, which to me is insane. Other states apparently make it easier for non-citizens to vote. That's pretty crazy too. When I lived in Germany, um, I was living in Germany, and you know, I guess we were part of the society all over there, but I wouldn't have thought of voting in a German election because I'm not a German citizen. I'm an American citizen. So it's like Americans aren't really invited to vote in the elections in other countries. So why would we invite non-citizens to vote in our elections? That just seems kind of crazy. It's like I said, you're devaluing U.S. citizenship. You're just making people territorial residents instead of citizens, and then you your nation is no longer a nation. It just becomes like a piece of dirt. Um, I've heard the accusations of one side being fascist, the other side being Marxist, and you can take it with a grain of salt. But um, I'm interested in political candidates who are not all about the Republican Party or the Democrat Party, but maybe returning a little bit to the Constitution, get ourselves on sound fiscal ground again, sound monetary policy, and stop sticking our nose everywhere in the world it doesn't belong. We got enough of, when your own house is on fire, you don't run over to help your neighbor paint his basement. You got to deal with your problems at home first. And if you say that, people say, "Well, you're isolationist." No, that's not isolationism. It's non-interventionism. There's a little bit of a difference. But we can't just continue to try and make the United States act like an empire because that's not going to last. History proves that. But whatever the case may be, go out and do your civic duty. Try and slow the burn. You know, let's take the nation over the cliff at 50 miles an hour instead of 90 miles an hour. Unfortunately, you still end up at the same place, but man, let's try and slow the roll a little bit. But anyway, that's enough of that. So just you know, buckle up tight. It's going to be a bumpy ride.